So, Kakadosh, Boker Tov, we're going to continue with Parashat Vayera. And I wanted to speak about an incredible topic, which I think is very, very important. It says in the beginning of the parasha, "Vatitzchak Sara bekirbah lemor, achare beloti hayta li ena vaduni zaken." So what happens is that Sarah is laughing inside of her, and she says, "What? My master, right after I've already become old, and my master's old, I'm going to have a child." So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, "Why is Sarah laughing?" And she's saying that she's becoming old. Are you astonished in that Hashem can do everything? So what happens? Comes Avraham Avinu and he tells Sarah. He says, "Sarah, what are you doing? Right? Why are you laughing?" She comes and she says, "I didn't laugh." Why? Because she was afraid. So he tells her, "No, it's not true. You did laugh." Come Chachamim and they ask two incredible questions. Question number one, we know that the concept of Midah HaKadosh Baruch Hu is truthfulness. Sarah Imenu was on a higher level than Avraham Avinu in Nivua and prophecy. You're going to tell me that Sarah was lying? You're going to tell me that what's going on here? Right? Besides the fact that you could ask, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing? He's telling Avraham Avinu, what's the purpose? There has to be something here. There's something deeper. But before going there's another question. You know that we have aliyot. We have aliyah rishon, sheni, shlishi, revi'i, chamishi. Usually the aliyah, right, which is basically the order of the Torah, of how we break up the portions of the Torah, they are after a certain topic. Here, it's in the middle. It's exactly in the middle. Look at the beginning of aliyah sheni is the words, V'techachesh Sarah, that Sarah is coming and she's rejecting. She's saying, "No, I didn't laugh." Start one pasuk afterwards. That had to do with Sodom. Why are you breaking up these three psukim? What's going on here? There are three psukim. Yud Bet, Yud Gimel, Yud Al Tetvado, 4 psukim. Why are you breaking them up? Right in the middle of the story all of a sudden. And then you start Aliyat Sheni. No, she's coming and she's saying, "No, it's not true." She's denying it. What's going on? How do we understand this? So the answer is that Chachamim already knew that on Monday, Thursday, Monday, right? And even on Shabbat itself, it's not nice to come and to start doing this entire, that you have 3 psukim coming and saying negative things about Sarah Imenu. So therefore, what do? Because of the kavod of Sarah Imenu, they stopped at 1 pasuk early. It was already too much. So now you're going to ask, okay, so why do we have to say it at all? But rather, there's a very important message here. So what can we learn from here? Why was it so important for the Torah to mention it, but still the Torah wanted to keep the peace or the kavod of Sarah Imenu, so it broke it up in between. So we stop reading. We don't read everything together of all the negativity of, right, of what we just mentioned here, the negativity of Sarah Imenu. So the Ramban comes and he gives the answer. And he says, you know what the answer is? Very simple. Mipnei yirato shel Avraham techachesh. Why did she deny it? Because she was afraid of Avraham Avinu. Now, 1 second, what does that mean? What, just because she's afraid she's allowed to lie? And what does that mean that she's afraid? What's going on exactly? So Kam Chachamim, and they say an important, fundamental, right, that yesod, something so important to understand in everything in the nature. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in the nature of a woman that she's not misugelet, she cannot withstand that her husband will see negative things in her. When he sees negative things in her, it's such a suffering, it's like death. Why? Because her entire life is based upon that her husband should respect her. So when he's going to come and he's going to start telling her things, or start me'idla, which means he's going to start, giving her, whether it's going to be criticism or things like that, she wants that her husband should think that she's perfect. The second that all of a sudden that changes, it's as if that you killed her. You took away everything from her. You burst her bubble. You completely destroyed her. Now, where does this come from exactly? So there's a Gemara Mesechet Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says in Kav Gimel Amud Bet, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, what does it mean the HaKadosh Baruch Hu made shalom bimromav? He made peace in the heavens. The Chama, the sun, never saw the pgima. The sun never saw the moon when it was diminished. Meaning that the way that they travel, the sun will never see the moon. Why? Because it will be embarrassed that the moon was minimized. And the Ritva says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it that way, bechokhmah, with wisdom. Why? Because that's the nature, that the moon was embarrassed, that it was minimized. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu purposely did it that the sun will never be able to see the moon. Right? That's just the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it. So now Kam Chachamim, and they say the man is the sun. The moon is the woman. Where do we see that? Rashi in Parashat Vayeshev, in the dream, when Yosef has the dream of the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowing down to him. Who's the sun? His father. Who's the moon? The mother. Why? So he says the reason why, he says, first of all, you could actually see it in the actual letters. He says because in the word chama, which is the sun, you have moach, right? Moach is the brain. The brain, men are much more of, right, whatever logical. Women have livana. What's inside livana? You have the word lev. Lev is the heart. They're more sentimental. Women are much more sentimental. Not only that, the men, which are the chama, they are supposed to shine their light to the women. The men are the ones always are usually on the giving, and the women are the ones on the receiving end. The Maral says you should know, right, that the kavod is called or. Respect is called light. So therefore he brings different psukim. Uchvod Adonai alayich zarach. The kavod of Hashem, he's going to shine forth in front of you. Alayich zarach. So he says, what does that mean? So therefore, the man, which is the son, has to shine honor and respect onto his wife. And therefore she's the moon, and she could illuminate that light. Now he says, however, though, the moon cannot see that the sun sees its defects. So the same thing, right? A woman cannot see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the defects. So we're going to ask ourselves, so why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say it? Listen to this yesod. He says, why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said it? HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't tell Abraham Avinu. Why didn't he tell Sarah? Sarah was on a higher level of nevuah, of prophecy. If she's on a higher level of prophecy, so then in such a case, what should happen is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have told Sarah. Why is he telling Abraham? So Abraham Avinu thought, why is he telling me? Because I have to tell her something. I have to give her musad. I have to give her on the head. Why are you laughing? It wasn't true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Abraham, because he was basically telling Abraham, why didn't you have enough emunah in your house that the light should illuminate so much that your light should illuminate it on her, that why is she having that question in emunah? It's not for you to tell her. You're not supposed to tell her. You weren't supposed to tell her. Avraham Avinu made that mistake, and that's why he went and he told her. But he wasn't supposed to tell her. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Avraham Avinu, you have to come and you have to realize that in your house has to act different. Because your wife and everyone around you, that's in the moon. You're the sun. You have to give over that radiance. You come back from a shiur, you have to be on the high, you have to be on everything. Then all of a sudden now, wow, that's emunah. And that has to rub off on everyone else. So the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu that your wife was laughing was not because you're going to go tell her off. It was because of you. Because you have to fix yourself. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling him. So now we actually understand what's going on. Why? Because in essence, what's going on is that there are certain people that are going to tell you that because of this embarrassment or fear, it makes sense why she lied. Because all of a sudden she's going to be killed. How do we see that the concept of looking bad is much worse than even death? Rabbeinu Yonah says in Sharei Teshuvah, an incredible yesod. What is the concept of Motzi Shem Ra? We say it all the time. There's Lashon Ra and Motzi Shem Ra. Lashon Ra means I say something negative about you. Motzi Shem Ra means not only did I say something negative, it was false. It was a lie. Where does that come from? The Torah says if a man gets married to a woman, and what happens is he comes to the Bet Din and he's Motzi Shem Ra. He says something negative about her. What does he say? She betrayed him. She went and she lived with another man, and they were already married. So all of a sudden now he comes. She's not a virgin. So what are you going to do? So comes the Torah and says you have to pay a knas, a penalty for 100 kesef. Why? Because he gave a bad name on Bat Yisrael. He gave a bad name. Asks Rabbeinu Yonah, 1 second. Forget about the bad name. we're going to kill her. A woman that commits adultery, we kill her. What do I care that you came and you gave a bad name? You just wanted to kill her. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, listen to the words. כי הוא העוון הגדול יותר מן המבקש נפש לספותה, כי צער הכלימה מר ממוות. He says what's more bitter than death is the negative name that she's going to get. That negative name was even more powerful than even killing her. And now we understand why the Gemara Masechet Baba Metzia Nuntet Amud Aleph says anybody that's marabim penei chavaro berabim, which means anybody that's going to come and they're going to embarrass, right? They're going to embarrass someone publicly. What happens? It's kilu that he comes and he killed them. Why is it kilu shofech tamim? Right? That you should always throw yourself into a furnace because mamash, you actually killed them. And that's the entire concept of Rabbi Akiva's students. Rabbi Akiva's students, when they didn't give kavod to each other, it's as if that they killed each other. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Midah keneged midah. Now I'm actually going to kill each other. I'm going to kill you guys now. Because you took away all the kavod of the person. Now they're not there. So now we understand what happens, what we mentioned last week. Last week we gave a shiur. I gave it on Sunday and I sent it out to everybody about that the woman, by respecting your wife, that's the key to all of Parnassah. Now the key to all of Parnassah, to Beracha, it's an entire shiur. You can look it up on YouTube and you can see it there. Now what happens is that now we understand why. If right now the woman, she's like the conduct, she's the conduit that all of a sudden she brings down the shefa, the abundance of the beracha and the parnasah. If right now a person takes away the kavod from her, it's as if he killed her. If she's not alive, she cannot bring anything. You could only be a conduit if the person's alive, if they're able to get the blood going, if they're able to continue running. Here, if the person takes away that kavod, there's nothing there. And now the Maharal explains that that's explanation also in the Gemara Masechet Gittin Daf Nun Zayin Amud Bet. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Elazar Eliezer, look how much is the power of embarrassment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped Bar Kamsa destroy the Bet HaMikdash and to destroy everything. Why? Explains the Maharal, because there's nothing that destroys in the world like embarrassment. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the Bet HaMikdash with his own two hands. Mikedash Hashem konenu yadecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the Bet HaMikdash with yadecha, with his hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu also made the world. B'tzelem Elokim, right, bara et Adam, he created with the two hands, right? He made it, but he's right, it's a pasuk. So therefore, both of them were made by the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we come and we destroy another human being, which means we cause death to another human being, HaKadosh Baruch Hu midah keneged midah caused destruction to the Bet HaMikdash because of that as well. So now Kam Chachamim, and they say, right, that's why if a woman is going to come and feel that you're going to say something negative about her, all of a sudden that completely changes everything. Now it says, now we're going to go to the positive. What's the positive? The Gemara in Sotah Daf Yud Bet Amud Aleph says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, if a person gets married to a woman, Leshem Shamayim, it's as if that he gave birth to her. Where do they learn it from? Mordechai. It says that when Esther Malka, when her father and mother passed away, she took her as a daughter. The Gemara says, what, it was a daughter? Says Rabbi Meir, don't call it daughter, but rather, right, to the house, meaning he got married to her, which means that if a person comes and he respects his wife, right, it's as if that he gave birth to her. It's as if that she's now his daughter. And the Lev Simcha Migul comes and he says, that's explanation in the Gemara, when the Gemara says if a person has a girl first, it's a siman yafeh lebanim. What does it mean, a siman yafeh lebanim? It's a good siman for the boys. It means that if he respects his wife and he got married to her Leshem Shamayim, that she's now, so that's going to be a good siman that all the children are going to be good children. Because if he respects his wife, the children are going to be good children. You don't have to worry about that. It's a good siman for having good children, if there's proper shalom bayit between them. Now the Imre Emet comes and he says, that's a pasuk in Parashat Vayishlach. Parashat Vayishlach, Esav comes, he sees Yaakov Avinu, and he says, he sees the wives and the children. And he says, who are these people? Says Yaakov Avinu, these are the children. What about the wives? Why didn't he answer on the wives? The Ramban asks this question, Nachmanides. And his answer is that since now comes the Maharal, and he says something beautiful. Listen to this. Maharal says, how many names did Sarai Menu have? How many names? So she had 3 names. Number one, that, oh, very good. So Sarai was the name that Abraham Avinu gave her. Sarah was the name that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave her. And Yiska was the name that her father gave her. So why exactly? Her father called her Yiska because she was Sacha Beruach HaKodesh. She had Ruach HaKodesh. She had prophecy. Abraham Avinu got married to her L'Shem Shamayim. He called her Sarai. What is Sarai? My Sar. What's a Sar? A minister. My important minister. For him, she was like a queen. So this is my important Sarai, my important minister. Comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, if you're going to get married L'Shem Shamayim, you're not going to be only a minister for yourself. I'm going to make you, if you act like a king and a queen, you're going to be the king and the king over the entire world. So if Abraham is Av Hamon Lechol Haolam Kulo, the father of the entire world, and Sarai is not only for you anymore, it's Sarah, it's on the entire world. It's not just yours anymore. It's the Sar on the entire world. Okay? So and that's also the Gaon Mevilna, that the Gaon Mevilna comes and he says that the Yikar of the Gemilut Chasadim is to respect your friends. Now listen to this explanation. He says here, now we understand why. What was the other name given to Esther Malka? Hadassah. Hadassah and Esther is the same. It was only brought down once in the Megillah. It says in the Pasuk, on that Pasuk, Vayhi omenet Hadassah. Who is Hadassah? He Esther bat Dodo. She's Esther, because she didn't have any father or mother. When the father and mother died, Mordechai got married to her. So comes here and explains, what do we just say? It comes out that we always compare Sarah and Esther. And we're comparing, right, because it says that since Sarah Imenu lived for 127 years, Esther Amalka ruled over 127 countries. We compare Esther and Sarai. What happened? Before marriage, she was called Hadassah because she was a tzadeket. Before marriage, Sarah was called Yiska because she had Ruach HaKodesh. When they got married, their name changed. And therefore, for Abraham Avinu, he called her Sarai, because now it's my, and by Esther, by Hadassah, now it's called Esther. And that's why it was only written there. It wasn't written anywhere else in the Megillah about Hadassah, because of what we just mentioned. Another beautiful chidush that they say is as follows. By Abraham Avinu, it says, your name is now not Abraham, but rather, right, what does he say? Right, your name is going to become Abraham. Before it was Abraham, now it's Abraham. By Sarai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, right, don't call her Sarai, because her name is already Sarah. What do you mean her name is Sarah? Say, from now on, her name is Sarah. Why by Abraham Avinu, he says, your name was once upon a time Abraham, and now it's going to be Abraham. And by Sarai, he's telling him, no. Her name is not Sarai. Her name is Sarah. When did you change the name? Says the Sefer Tzurot Umor. We learn from here that any level that you give to the husband, automatically it goes to the wife. The second Abraham Avinu was called Abraham, he changed the name from Abraham to Abraham, was when HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed the name from Sarai to Sarah. The exact same moment. Because that level that went to the husband automatically goes to the wife. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells Abraham Avinu on the past, her name is not anymore Sarai. It's Sarah already. It's already that. I don't have to make it now. I already gave it to her when I already called you that. Because when I made you the king over the world, I made her the queen over the world. And now, Kam Chachamim, and they say, so we learn from here, this entire shiur, that not only how do you mechabed your wife, how do you respect your wife? You don't give her any type of criticism. There's no criticism. You don't criticize. A house without criticism, that is actually the house of everything. And that's the respect that you have to give to your wife. There was once a certain person that he wanted to fulfill the halacha in Mishnah Berurah, the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Resh Peh and Sivkat and Gimel and Or Chaim. It speaks about the entire concept of Friday nights and the importance. And there it says how you're supposed to respect your wife, especially on Friday. You have to respect her and you have to give her kavod and everything. So he used to try, but every single time his wife was always, and he didn't understand why. He learned this shiur, and then he stopped criticizing. And he realized that every single Friday, no matter what, there was always something to criticize. Even if it was something small, even if it was something, whatever, minute, there was something. He said the second that he stopped criticizing, she was the happiest person alive. And again, and the reason why is because, again, the woman wants to be perfect in the eyes of her husband. And the second that we're going to come and we're going to criticize her, we're going to see something that's why she lied. She lied to Avraham Avinu because for her it was like death. What, all of a sudden now she's going to be looked upon in the eyes of Avraham Avinu like she was as if that she was dead. So she went and she lied. And that's why it's so important for us to understand this nature in the women, because they don't want to see this. They don't want that their husband should see something negative in them. And therefore we have to learn how to respect them in order to actually get all these berachot, Bezrat Hashem. And now we actually understand why, Bezrat Hashem. Okay?